Hello everybody and welcome to the Kuukali Bushcraft channel on a rainy day here in Finnish Lapland. So we've got a knife review for you today. The Hudson Bay knife design dates back to the 1700s in North America, from the days of the Hudson Bay Trading Company, when trappers and pioneers wanted a larger knife for basic camp chores. And this is the modern Finnish interpretation by Nordic Knife Design. Walnut scales, brass pins. We've got a 5-inch blade, that's 125mm, 4mm thick, with a total length of 240mm. That's about 9.5 inches. 1095 high carbon steel, 58 to 59 on the Rockwell scale.
Cheeky. So I was testing this out at work over the winter. Unfortunately, I really damaged the edge, which was entirely my fault. I was smashing through a piece of wood in the dark. Really cold weather, everything's brittle in there, and I hadn't noticed there was the remains of a bolt in there. So I took a great big chip out of it, and it's taken me a while to put that right. Let's pan you down a little. So a lot of these Finnish knives come with really quite high grinds. So this came with a really fine edge. So as if you're going to be using it for really rough stuff, you might just want to put a little secondary bevel on it. But to my mind, this is kind of like a hybrid bushcraft stroke hunting knife. And yeah, I think for processing game you need a very sharp edge, particularly if you're going to be skinning and doing things like that. Really nice feather sticker. .1095 steel. It's good heat treatment. It did sharpen back up quite well. What I like about this kind of shape, I know it's not the intended purpose. The intended purpose is for processing game, but when you've got this kind of a hump, or this kind of a clip point in this case, I definitely call this a clip point, behind the belly, you can get some really lovely slicing cuts using your thumb as a pivot. Not necessarily for feather sticks, more for things like spoon carving, which, as it happens, I've got a bit of wood. So this is bird cherry. It's from a broken tree that's kind of spreading and taken over by a riverbank over there. I've never used this before, but when I smell that smells quite toxic. So there's a very widespread tree, grown in parks and gardens. It's called cherry laurel. As if you crush up the leaves, I advise you to do this. if you crush up the leaves, smell it, remember that smell is indicative of cyanic acid, basically cyanide. And I'm getting this smell from this, so I'm going to make a spoon out of it. I might not use it. I might look into maybe boiling the toxin out. I'm not too sure. But yeah, let's see how that goes. Yeah, smells funky. Okay. It is actually quite nice for this really light chopping. And when it comes to chopping, I mean, you've got quite a lot of weight in the front end. Where's the balance? It's quite heavy on the handle, which is good. That means it's not skeletonized, or not skeletonized very much at least, which means it's good and sturdy. But as if you want to do any chopping with a handle that shape, you need some kind of a bird's beak or a flare at the end. You know, that's just too easy to slip out of your hand. Unless it's just doing something very light. Yeah.
Also, there's no lanyard hole. Definitely not designed for chopping.
Doing all this kind of work, I'm really feeling the sharpness of the spine. I don't know if we really need a fire. Well, we may as well. I think we're going to have a little bit of a litter pick before we leave. It's a bit of a shame. Okay, so this is a bit of a mixture of stuff. So I can see there's rosebay willow herb in here. This is just something that I've pulled out of a pocket. Obviously from last summer. Yeah, I can save some of that. Save some of that for later. So this is not the best ferro rod. Let's see how we do. Oh, is that plate? Nearly. Now we're late. Let's get a feather on that.
The bird cherry, by the way, it does contain cyanide. It's in the bark and in the seeds. The fruit is edible, just spit out the seeds, and once the bark is not part of the spoon, it should be safe. And also, it is a good survival skill to learn this smell. Cyanide occurs in quite a lot of plants.
So the sheath, nice quality thick leather, double stitched. I've had to wet form it a little bit. Now it holds the knife well enough. I don't think I'm going to be jumping upside down that much, but it's something I find a lot with these knives, which have got such a wide blade, that the retention is not that good, because you've got to leave room for the blade, or the knife maker has. I've got a couple more knives here for the sake of comparison. Yeah, here I've got the Bracer Nesmuk, very similar knife, excellent feather sticker. That massive belly really does make awesome. The curvature to the blade really does help with this. But also I've had to wet form this, and also with my Joker Nesmuk, and even after wet forming, yeah, it's not great. Yeah, so the NKD, thicker leather, double stitching, it is a nicer sheath. Yeah, these have a lanyard hole now. The design's changed. I've got an older version. So we've got quite a thick blade there. What would that be, about? I'd say that's 4mm. So a high grind is obviously a really good thing. And it is really quite nice and slicey. I can't say I've used it awfully much for food prep. I think it would also be good for that, despite the thickness. Yes, I know, I should be doing this outside. Now I'm sure I've used this for food prep in the past. I just don't really remember how well it did. Yeah, that's slicing perfectly fine. Let's compare it to the Green River. Noticeable difference, much thinner blade. But this, right, he says messing it up. High enough grind, sharp enough. Well everyone, the weather seems a little bit nicer now. We're gonna head back. So thank you very much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, drop us a comment, and I'll see you all again soon for another Good Bushcraft video. Bye for now.